Have you ever wondered why some men walk into a room and instantly draw attention, even if they're not the best looking, richest, or tallest? You've probably seen it happen. A guy who isn't trying, who isn't desperate, and yet women turn their heads. Men respect him, and the atmosphere bends slightly around his presence. And you think to yourself, what the hell does he have that I don't? That's exactly what we're going to dig into, the hidden signals you give off without even realizing it, and why some of those signals make you magnetic while others make you invisible. It begins in the small things. The way you sit at a table. The pause before you answer. The way you don't rush to fill every silence. Most men sabotage themselves here because they think attraction is about performance. They think they have to do, say, or prove something in order to earn a woman's attention. But the reality is the opposite. The more you try to force it, the less natural pull you have. Women don't fall for effort, they fall for presence. Presence is not a performance, it's an energy. When you're not obsessed with being liked, when you're not constantly scanning her face for signs of approval, you send out a signal that she feels deep in her nervous system safety mixed with mystery. Safety because you're grounded, not chaotic. Mystery because you're not handing over every piece of yourself right away. That's why the guy who's slightly amused, leaning back, not rushing, suddenly feels more attractive than the guy showering her with compliments and constant attention. Think back to a time you overinvested. Maybe you texted her 3 times in a row because she didn't answer. Maybe you bent your schedule for her every time she asked. Maybe you tried to make her laugh harder or prove you were smart enough, charming enough, worthy enough. What happened? She lost interest, fast. Not because she didn't like you, but because you made her the center of gravity, and that destroyed the tension. Women are drawn to men who orbit their own lives, not men who collapse into hers. There's a psychology behind this. Humans are wired to value what feels scarce. If you're always available, always giving, always pouring yourself out, your attention loses value. But when you hold back, when you choose carefully what to reveal, when you protect your time and energy, you become scarce. That scarcity turns into desire. And here's the trap: women will test you on this. She might pull away suddenly just to see if you panic. She might ignore a text just to gauge whether you crumble into chasing. And if you do, she knows she owns you. Attraction dies right there. The men who are instantly attractive aren't immune to these tests. They just don't flinch. If she delays her response, they don't spiral into anxiety. If she withdraws, they stay busy, keep moving, live their lives. That calm indifference communicates more than words ever could. I like you, but I don't need you. That sentence, unspoken but deeply felt, is the root of attraction. Let's get tactical, because this isn't about theory. Next time you're on a date and there's a silence, don't rush to fill it. Lean back, take a sip, and look at her calmly. If she pulls away in texting, don't respond with 3 paragraphs. Mirror her energy. If she goes cold, you go colder, not out of spite, but out of respect for yourself. If she doesn't invest, you don't carry the entire weight. This is how you subtly teach her, my attention is valuable. It must be earned. And I will not beg. And here's something you need to hear: your attractiveness isn't about what you give, it's about what you're willing to withhold. Not love, not kindness, but over-explaining, over-proving, over-chasing. Every time you hold back that desperate impulse, you become more magnetic. Every time you stop yourself from sending that long, needy text, you grow more powerful. And every time you walk away, instead of begging for crumbs, you show her the kind of man she's either going to respect or regret losing. So let me ask you this: Have you ever recognized yourself in this exact situation, where you gave too much too soon and watched her drift away? Which one of these toxic behaviors have you faced before her pulling away, her testing you, her going cold to see if you'd chase? And be honest, what's the hardest part for you about walking away when you know she's manipulating you? Imagine this: you're sitting across from her at dinner and she suddenly goes quiet. Her eyes drop to her phone, she swipes, she smiles at the screen, not at you. Your chest tightens instantly. Your brain goes into panic mode. You wonder, did I bore her? Did I say something wrong? And before you know it, you're scrambling to fix it. You tell another joke. You lean forward. You start filling the silence with nervous energy. You think you're salvaging the moment. But what you just did is hand her the steering wheel. You told her, without saying a word, that she can control your emotional state by withdrawing hers. This is how most men lose, not because women are cruel, but because women are instinctively testing. They want to know, are you stable, or are you a leaf in the wind? And the moment you overreact, you fail the test. You show her that her disinterest terrifies you more than you value your own peace. Attraction dies not because you weren't good enough, but because you gave her the power to measure your worth. Now picture another man in the same scenario. She looks down at her phone, disengages, maybe even withholds attention on purpose. But he doesn't flinch. He leans back, calmly cuts into his steak, and keeps eating. His mood doesn't shift. His energy doesn't beg. Maybe he makes a small joke, or maybe he says nothing at all. Either way, he radiates the unspoken message, you can't shake me. That's the man she can't stop thinking about after the date. Not because he was the funniest or the richest, but because his center of gravity stayed intact. Women are experts at reading this. They can sense when you're desperate for their validation, just like a shark smells blood in water. And here's the twist: when you show her you're not shaken, when you stay grounded no matter what storm she stirs, she feels more attraction, not less. Because your steadiness tells her something deeper. You're not just another man chasing approval. You're a man with options, boundaries, and a life she can't fully control. That's magnetic. But here's where it gets tricky. Some men hear this and try to fake it. They think acting aloof, being cold, or playing hard to get is the same thing. It's not. A woman can smell fake indifference. If you're pretending not to care while secretly checking your phone every 2 minutes, she'll notice. Real indifference isn't a performance. It's the byproduct of having a life that doesn't revolve around her. It's the man who has his own passions, his own schedule, his own self-respect. That's why he doesn't flinch, because he genuinely doesn't need to. So how do you get there? Start small. Next time she takes hours to reply, don't match it with neediness. Don't send a double text. Don't send a meme as a way of fishing for attention. Wait, stay in your world. Go to the gym, meet your friends, read a book, handle your work. When you finally reply, it's calm, short, and free of emotional tension. That shows her you're not starved for her attention. You're simply living, and she can join that life if she chooses. Another tactic: stop oversharing early. Most men think vulnerability means dumping their entire life story in the first week. But that kills mystery. Instead, reveal slowly. Share enough to connect, but leave space for curiosity. Let her wonder what else there is to learn. When you drip feed parts of yourself, you control the pace. You're not a book she can finish in one sitting. You're a story that unfolds. And that makes her chase. The internal cost of ignoring this truth is massive. Every time you overinvest, you chip away at your confidence. You teach yourself that her mood is more important than your standards. You become addicted to her approval, like a gambler waiting for the next win. And when she pulls it away, You feel empty. That's how men end up in toxic cycles, constantly chasing women who treat them poorly because they've forgotten their own value. But when you flip it, when you decide you're the prize, you regain everything. You stop panicking when she's distant. You stop chasing when she tests. You stop collapsing into her world, and instead, you invite her into yours. And here's the secret most men miss. Women are far more attracted to a man they can't completely predict. Not because he's manipulative, but because he's whole. He's not grasping. He's not begging. He's not addicted. He's free. So let me ask you, have you ever noticed how quickly she pulled back the moment you started over-explaining yourself? How many times have you told yourself you'd stay calm, only to blow it the second she withdrew? And be honest, if she suddenly stopped texting you tomorrow, would your world keep spinning, or would you spiral? Some women won't test you with silence or distance. They'll test you with chaos. She'll throw a sudden jab at your ego, something subtle but sharp, like, "You're not really my type, but you're fun to hang out with," or "My ex was way more ambitious than you." It's a verbal grenade, and most men step right on it. They defend themselves, they argue, they try to convince her otherwise. They don't realize she's not actually making a statement, she's running an experiment. She wants to see if you'll collapse or if you'll stay unshaken. Here's the hard truth: the moment you explain yourself, you lose. Why? Because explaining is submission. It's saying, "Please believe I'm good enough. Please see me differently." And every time you plead for recognition, you trade your power for scraps of approval. That's why some women lose respect after you argue your worth. Not because you aren't worthy, but because you tried to sell yourself instead of letting your presence prove it. The men who win in these moments don't defend, they redirect. When she says, "You're not my type," he smirks and replies, "Good, I don't want to be anyone's type." When she compares him to her ex, he shrugs. Sounds like he's your problem, not mine. No anger, no defense, no collapse. Just calm indifference. And in that moment, she feels it, he's untouchable. He's not a man scrambling for approval. He's a man who won't be measured by anyone else's ruler. This is the essence of instant attraction being unmoved. Not because you're numb, but because your self-worth isn't up for negotiation. The world could throw silence, chaos, or criticism your way, and you still stand. That's what women can't resist, because it taps into something primal: stability, strength. A man who isn't governed by her whims is a man she can lean on, a man she can test without breaking, a man she can't control but deeply respects. But let's bring it down to the field. The next time she tries to provoke you with a little dig, don't give her the satisfaction of explaining. Let silence hang. Let your amused smile answer for you. Or, better yet, flip it back lightly. "You're right, you don't deserve someone like me," delivered with calm energy, not bitterness. That line does something lethal. It reframes her test into your standard. Now she's the one wondering where she stands with you. Another situation you've probably faced: she cancels plans last minute. Your first instinct might be to act upset, to text something like, "Wow, really, I cleared my whole night for this." You think you're standing up for yourself. But what you're actually doing is broadcasting dependency. You're telling her, "My life stops for you, and now I'm crushed." The stronger move, indifference. Respond with a short, calm message. "All good, let's catch up another time." Then get busy living. Go out with friends. Hit the gym. Enjoy yourself. When she sees you're not rattled, she'll either step up next time or fade away, revealing she was never worth your time. Either way, you win. Because here's the rule: the less you react, the more she invests. Not out of manipulation, But because attraction thrives on polarity, she needs to feel your strength, your center, your ability to resist being swayed by her every move. That's what separates the man she keeps thinking about from the man she forgets. And the cost of ignoring this, you'll live on her leash. Every silence will torment you. Every sharp comment will shake you. Every cancellation will feel like a wound. You'll find yourself begging for clarity, chasing reassurance, drowning in doubt. That's not love, it's addiction. It's the death of your masculine core. But when you master indifference, something radical shifts. You stop reacting to every test. You stop chasing every crumb. You stop explaining yourself into the ground. Instead, you stand firm. You smile at the storm. You keep moving no matter what. And in that strength, you become unforgettable. Now, I'll challenge you. When was the last time a woman tested you with a backhanded comment, and how did you respond? Have you ever caught yourself defending, explaining, or overreacting, only to regret it later? And deep down, what scares you more, losing her, or admitting to yourself that you were too afraid to hold the line? There's another layer to this that most men never see. Attraction doesn't only live in the big tests, silence, digs, cancellations. It lives in the micro moments, the signals you send when you're not even aware of them. Women read those moments like a second language. The way you walk into a room, the way you glance at her and then look away, the way you stand when you're waiting. These tiny, unconscious cues either reveal a man who is grounded or a man who is begging silently for approval. Think about the way most men enter a date. They rush in, over-smiling, trying to please from the first second. Their laugh is too quick. Their body leans forward. Their eyes cling to her face as if scanning for permission to exist. She hasn't even ordered a drink yet, and she already knows he's desperate. Not desperate for sex, necessarily, but desperate for validation. His entire presence screams, "Please, like me," and nothing kills attraction faster. Now, imagine another man. He arrives calm. His shoulders aren't slouched forward, his eyes aren't darting, his hands aren't fidgeting. He doesn't over-smile. In fact, his expression is neutral until it slowly warms. He speaks slowly, leaves pauses, takes up space without apology. In that silence, in that composure, she feels it. He doesn't need her to fill his emptiness. He's already full. That contrast is everything. This is why posture, pacing, and presence matter more than your outfit or your words. You can wear the most expensive suit, but if your energy screams insecurity, she'll feel it. And you can wear a plain t-shirt, but if your presence is solid, she'll lean in. It's not about fashion, it's about psychology. Humans mirror what they feel. If she feels your calm, she calms down. If she feels your neediness, she pulls away. So let's get tactical again. Slow down. That's the first rule. Your speech, your movements, your reactions, all of it. When you speak too fast, it shows you're chasing her attention. When you fidget, it shows you're uncomfortable in your own skin. But when you slow down, you flip the script. You're not rushing to catch her, you're inviting her to catch up to you. That's the frame of power. Second, protect your gaze. Don't let your eyes beg. When she talks, look at her with calm focus. Then glance away when you want, not when you're forced. That tiny shift tells her you're not under her spell. You're choosing your attention. That difference is subtle, but she feels it in her gut. It's the difference between a man who follows her lead and a man who leads himself. Third, hold your ground in silence. Most men crumble when a pause comes. They panic. They rush to fill the void. But if you let silence hang comfortably, you create tension. Not awkward tension, magnetic tension. She wonders what you're thinking. She leans in, asks questions, fills the space. Suddenly, she's investing. That's not manipulation, that's discipline. The internal cost of ignoring these details is brutal. Every nervous laugh, every quick fidget, every desperate glance, she reads them all. She may not call them out, but she feels the energy, and her body reacts with disinterest. You walk away confused, thinking, I said all the right things. Why didn't it work? The answer wasn't your words. It was the invisible signals you leaked without knowing. But when you master the micro moments, everything changes. You stop performing and start being. You don't chase approval, you radiate it. And in that space, women feel drawn to you without even understanding why. You become the man who is instantly attractive without trying, because your presence does the work. So here's what I want you to reflect on. Have you ever caught yourself rushing your words, laughing too hard, or fidgeting just to keep her attention? What happened after? Did she lean closer, or did she slowly detach? And if you're honest, what's harder for you, slowing down and holding tension, or breaking your addiction to always performing for approval? Here's the part that will sting, but you need to hear it. Most men think attraction is built on what they give to a woman. Compliments, attention, validation, time. They treat her like a goddess, and then wonder why she feels nothing. But here's the paradox. What makes you instantly attractive isn't what you give, it's what you're willing to not give. The restraint, the self-control, the refusal to hand over your entire soul in the first week just to keep her entertained. Think about the last time you met someone new. Maybe you thought she was special. You wanted to show her your best side, so you flooded her with attention. You texted every morning, "Good morning, beautiful." You liked every picture. You were available the second she called. You thought you were proving devotion, but what you actually proved was that your attention was cheap, because anything given in unlimited supply loses its value. Women don't consciously say this, but they feel it if every other man is trying this hard. Why should I treasure it from him? But when you hold back, not in cruelty, not in games, but in discipline, you create space. You give her something rare, the gift of curiosity. She starts to wonder why you're not flooding her with attention like the others. She starts to ask herself what it would take to win you. And that shift from you chasing her to her chasing your approval is the birthplace of real attraction. This is why the strongest men are never over-explainers. They don't text paragraphs begging to be understood. They don't justify why they're busy. They don't announce their value. They simply live it. And when a woman notices they're not throwing their time and energy around recklessly, she leans in. Because scarcity always creates desire. But here's the trap. Women know this dynamic better than you do. They'll use withdrawal as bait. They'll withhold affection just to see if you panic and compensate. They'll go cold, hoping you'll pour yourself out to melt the ice. And most men fall for it. They send longer texts. They beg for clarity. They chase harder, thinking effort will fix it. What it actually does is confirm that her coldness controls you. The counter-indifference, not fake indifference, but genuine discipline. When she withdraws, you don't chase. When she tests, you don't explain. You don't match her energy with desperation, you match it with calmness. If she goes silent, you stay silent longer. If she plays distant, you double down on your own life. That's not cruelty, it's boundaries. It's teaching her without words. That manipulation doesn't buy your attention. Respect does. Now, let's get practical. If she pulls back, don't ask. Are you mad at me? Don't text. Did I do something wrong? Instead, let her sit in that space. If she values you, she'll come forward. If she doesn't, you just dodged a bullet. If she cancels a date, don't protest, accept it, and immediately invest your energy elsewhere. Post a picture of you out with friends, not to flex, but because you're living. Show her that your world doesn't collapse without her. That subtle message will either draw her closer or filter her out. Either way, you stay in control. The cost of ignoring this lesson is devastating. You'll end up a man who bleeds himself dry for women who don't respect him. You'll waste years over-investing in women who treat you as an option. You'll build a life where your worth depends on whether or not she validates you. That's not love, that's slavery. But when you master restraint, everything flips. You become the man she can't figure out, the man she thinks about when she's alone, the man who isn't rushing to hand himself over, but calmly waiting to see if she can rise to his level. That's the man who's instantly attractive, not because he plays games, but because he refuses to play the wrong one. So let me ask you this. How many times have you destroyed your own attraction by giving too much? Too soon, can you remember a moment where she went cold, and you chased harder instead of stepping back? And deep down, what scares you more, that she might walk away, or that you might finally have to admit you were the one handing her all the power? There's a final truth about attraction that most men never realize until it's too late. Women don't fall in love with the man who bends over backward to please them. They fall in love with the man they cannot fully control. And that's where your real power lies. A woman can enjoy your jokes, appreciate your compliments, even like your attention. But what hooks her, what makes her lie awake at night, replaying the moments in her head, is the realization that you are not hers to command. That no matter how much she teases, withdraws, or tests, you remain centered. You remain free. That freedom is the oxygen of attraction. Without it, the fire dies. Think of the men who never seem to struggle with women. They're not always the tallest, richest, or most handsome, but they all share one trait. They live by their own gravity. They don't hand over their identity for temporary affection. They don't let silence, coldness, or manipulation dictate their worth. They don't chase what runs away, they let it run, because they know another opportunity is already on its way. That's not arrogance. That's clarity. You need to understand this. Most relationships fail not because of what women do, but because of what men allow. You allow her games to dictate your reactions. You allow her approval to define your value. You allow her absence to break your sense of self. And every time you allow it, you shrink. You become less magnetic, less respected, less desired. But when you stop allowing, when you draw the line, when you walk away from manipulation instead of begging for scraps, you shift into a different category of man. The rare kind. The kind she talks about with her friends, saying, "I can't read him. I don't know what it is, but I can't stop thinking about him." That's the result of self-possession. So let's make this tactical. If she ghosts you for days and then suddenly comes back with a casual, "Hey stranger," don't reward her silence with instant enthusiasm. Respond with calm brevity, or don't respond at all. If she flirts with other men in front of you to provoke jealousy, don't play the game. Smile, excuse yourself, and leave her wondering why her trick didn't work. If she pushes you to over-explain your feelings when you're not ready, don't fold, say less, not more. These small acts of restraint build the frame of a man she cannot shake. And here's the deepest layer: the more detached you are from needing her, the more space she has to desire you. Need kills attraction. Detachment feeds it. When she senses that you'll be fine without her, that you'd prefer her but don't depend on her, she leans in harder. Because every instinct in her is drawn to the man who doesn't need her to survive, but chooses her to enhance. The cost of failing here is brutal. You'll give everything, only to watch her lose respect. You'll beg for love, only to feel emptier when it comes half-hearted. You'll end up resentful, wondering why women always leave you for the men who seem colder, stronger, untouchable. The truth is, they weren't colder, they were freer. And freedom is the ultimate aphrodisiac. So when you walk into your next date, when you face your next test, When you feel that pull to overgive, remember this restraint is not rejection, it's respect for yourself. Indifference is not cruelty, it's clarity. Silence is not weakness, it's strength. You are not there to be consumed, you are there to be chosen. And only when you stop chasing, only when you stop bleeding yourself dry, will she finally see you for what you are, the man who cannot be broken, only joined. She didn't break you. She revealed what you were too afraid to protect.